Welcome to a Wonder Junkie podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson. Today I had a conversation with a really special and unique person named Dr. Jane Seaton. I met her a few months ago at a workshop in Boulder, Colorado with a mentor of mine and a good friend of hers for many years, Sanchi Redda. And it seemed like me and her had a really fast and easy connection and a nice time chatting while we were there for a few days. She asked me to come up in October and help her with a workshop that she's been teaching for decades. And it's going to be up at this place called Echo Dharma, and it's going to be called ArtLife. And she teaches people original creativity. It's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to go and be immersed in nature and learn from her and help her in any way that I can. But this conversation really just is to try to capture some of her essence and share it with you and anyone else who you want to share that with. She holds a PhD in creativity as a path of personal and cultural transformation from the Union Institute in Cincinnati, Ohio, and a bachelor in fine art and design from the Goldsmith College at the University of London. She's worked as a holistic body-mind integrating psychotherapist in private practice since 1991 in Boulder, Colorado. She's a multimedia artist and teacher, and she's facilitated experiential therapeutic art process for hundreds of people now for decades. She also teaches ongoing programs designed to fulfill and find people's unique life purpose. She's a very special lady, and I'm excited to see where our friendship goes, and I'm excited to work with her up at her workshop coming up in October. Jane says that she knows that life itself is our greatest art form. I hope you enjoy the conversation, and don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, and rate the show. Enjoy. Well, hello, Jane.
Hello, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for joining me from the internet world. I'm glad we could do this. It was supposed to happen in person, but we couldn't quite make that happen, so here we are, doing it virtually.
Yeah, this is good. The timing is good. It's all
I'm
fine.
looking forward to getting to know you through this medium and trying to share some of your essence with people that are going to be listening to this in the future. It could be people that you already know, it could be strangers, and that's a beautiful thing, is just to capture some of who you are, and it's going to be a form of exploration and learning here. So I'm excited to get to know you in this way.
Well,
Well, I wanted to start off and just let people know how we met. We met a few months ago at a little workshop that we did up in Boulder area, and you and I kept getting matched together, and there was some beautiful exercises where you and I had to connect on a very vulnerable level. And it seemed like there was some divine connection there where you and I were meant to meet and get to know each other on a deeper level. And it was powerful. You and I had to look into each other's eyes for minutes and minutes at a time, and the exercise was to practice looking at each other's younger 3-year-old selves with that compassion and that view. And then we had to look at each other as our ancestors, all of our ancestors, and see the old lineage behind each other's eyes. And then we had to look at each other and sort of realize that both of us were going to be dead. And it was a practice on dying and death, and it was so powerful, and
yeah,
a lot of tears and a lot of just heartfelt connection with you right off the bat. And then it was beautiful to get to go to dinner with you one night and learn about some of your newer projects and what you're working on. And you seemed to be called to invite me to come and help you with that. And I thought we could just start off by saying thank you for the invitation, because I'm excited to go to your event coming up, ArtLife. And maybe we could even just start off with what this project ArtLife is. What is ArtLife, and how did you come up with the name for it? And maybe let some people know, like, what are you offering to people up there?
well, the name ArtLife. In the mid 1990s, I was doing a long distance doctorate through the Union Institute. And I was doing my doctorate I originally was planning to do a doctorate as an art therapist. And so a few months into the program, I went to Milwaukee for the annual art therapy conference. And there were 1,000 people there. And it was an interesting experience being there. I came home from Milwaukee. The next morning, I woke up in my house in Boulder, and I had this odd experience as though the word ArtLife, which I'd never heard of before, it seemed as if it just came to me. So it literally just sort of drifted down into me. And this word, it felt very unexpected. It felt very potent. It felt like it was a message. It felt like this is what your work is really about. This is what it's called. And you can let go of the more traditional art therapy ways and follow this guidance. So I did. And I've literally spent the last about 25 years being guided by this word. It's like a mentor. It's like uh, it's like a message. It's still, all these years later, it still feels alive. Like it's not just a word, like it holds something. And what I have understood it to mean always is that in this time in particular, this word is very much for this time that we're living in together. It felt like I was being asked by higher guidance to work in the world, helping to bring creativity much deeper, further, more consciously grounded into people's lives. So that art, for a lot of people living in this time, would feel less like the conventional idea of it, as less like something you're supposed to be trained in, less like something you're supposed to be particularly gifted in, and more that art is intrinsic, creativity is intrinsic within all of us, and that it's meant to not be separate from the whole matrix, the whole complex interweaving matrix of our lives. So art life is about being creatives in all that we are, in all that we be, in all that we explore, in all that we don't know that we actually know. That's a starter
That's
answer.
beautiful.
That's a starter answer
That's a
to what
beautiful answer. I love that.
oh,
And it sounds to me like you're going to be you're holding this event up at a place called Echo Dharma.
mhm.
Can you describe why you chose this space and a little bit about the space that you chose for this art life?
I would love to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, Echo Dharma. Whew. Echo Dharma is a retreat place in the mountains up above Colorado, up at about 8,000 feet high up. Echo Dharma is this exquisite retreat place high up in the mountains above Colorado, up towards the Continental Divide, that has been a retreat place for about 90 years. It was first used as a retreat center by a woman called Hazel Schmoll, who bought the land in 1938. She was the first woman to get a doctorate in Colorado. And she bought this land and created a retreat center for women to be in nature together as a retreat in the 1930s, which was very, very early to do that. So since then, Echo Dharma has belonged to several organizations. And I think about 8, 10 years ago, it was bought by an organization called I'm not, well, they're now called the Echo Dharma, Rocky Mountain Echo Dharma Retreat Center. So they're a Buddhist organization, and many of their programs are meditation. I've been to a number of programs there as a participant over the last number of years, and I've assisted in at least one program up there led by a friend. So I've gotten to know this place, this land, and the energy of this land, and what Hazel, the sort of outcomes, the outflows of what Hazel originally created there for probably about 10 years. So Echo Dharma, the land, is extraordinarily beautiful. It's a mixture of forest and aspen woods and roaring creek and meadows and marshlands and rocky outcrops. It's it's as if the land, here it is. It's as if the land itself, that is Echo Dharma, calls us. It's as if the land, the wild land there itself, calls us human ones to come there and learn and let go and be reminded of the wild, the real, the open, the free. So it's like the place, the whole of the place itself is, I don't want to say magical. I want to say, use the word potent again. The place itself calls people like you and I, and many others, of course, to come there and come out of our regular lives. Let go of our cell phones, let go of our habits, let go of pressure, let go of everything but being for ourselves, falling back into the true, falling back into the real. So, having been there as a student, having been there as an assistant, having worked with some of my favorite teachers there, I got invited to teach there myself. And I was like, wow, yes, big, big yes. Because I know this place so well, I love it. So to bring my own work there feels very an honor and a joy and a fit. Feels like a fit for me. It's not just somewhere, it's somewhere I'm very connected with.
Beautiful. And you talk about guiding people, not teaching more or less. It's you use the word guide quite often. And how often or how many years, I guess, have you been guiding people into their creativity?
I have now been guiding people into their creativity for 53 years.
It's amazing.
I taught my first class right out of art school. I graduated with a degree in fine art from Goldsmiths College at the University of London. And I taught my first class a few months later at an alternative adult education college in North London. And I got to design the program, and I have always designed my own programs ever since. And my first program was called Art is a Celebration of You. And it was exactly the same core of what I've always taught: how to help people just relax and celebrate the art that comes through them naturally, organically, for real. No ego needed, no training needed. Art is a
It's
celebration
amazing.
of being. So I've been
And when
teaching.
you were young,
Yeah,
I think you mentioned once that when you were a little girl, you sort of knew that this was somewhat of your life path.
I did. Yeah. I no longer have it, but apparently, I know, I remember that I, a long time ago, had a baby book that my mother had written about me. And that apparently, when I was 2.5 years old, I told my parents, I'm going to teach art.
And how do you guide people to their creativity? What is some of the process, or how does some of that look like if you were to try to tell someone like myself that was coming from the outside, I signed up for this ArtLife workshop. How do you envision it, or how has it looked in the past that you could draw from to imagine what it will look like in this future event coming up?
Essentially, I help people relax. I help people to take the whole process less seriously. I help people, we play a little bit, we lighten things up, we soften it all, we, we talk a bit, we close our eyes and go into the quiet. We play, like very, very often in a beginning of a class. I'll have people do things like scribbling or dancing with their eyes closed or humming. It's all about playing. It's all about dropping out of being a grown up adult who's supposed to know something about this business of making art and just relaxing and remembering intrinsic realness inside of just making, playing, moving, singing, scribbling. Also, anything that
It's beautiful.
relaxes, anything that relaxes us. Oh, and of course, this actually also includes, because this comes a lot, that I help people to make representations, whether that's with clay or crayons or, again, movement or sound. I encourage people to represent, to do anything that helps them to give expression to what they're afraid of about being creative. The voice inside that says you're a phony. You can't really do this. So rather than trying to override that or pretend it's not there, in that same less serious, less linear way, I encourage people to give voice to those inhibitions, thought habits, past history of having been told something wasn't right or good enough, and actually express that. And people are very afraid to do that because they think it's going to be very ugly, and wrong and bad. And in point of fact, so often people look at what they've made about what they're afraid of, and they look at it and maybe cry, or maybe just sigh, huge sighs of relief. Oh, that's all it is. And it's not going to kill me. Oh, that's okay. And we go from there, on playing, on into the mystery, on into just unfolding whatever wants to come through. One more thing on this. I was teaching a collage class one time a few years ago, and there was a woman who was there, and she had never really made collage before, so she was feeling quite inhibited. And after some time during the class, probably 20, 30 minutes in, she held up this big sheet of paper that she found from a magazine that she was going to use. And it was yellow, and it was daffodils. It was covered in image of yellowness and daffodils. And she said to me in a voice that was very tentative, even afraid to ask, she said, "Would it be okay to use this yellow page as a background?" And it moved me so deeply that she even felt she needed to ask a question like that. So actually, that's really a lot of what I do, is be present while people move through their inhibition, their fear. And of course, I just said to her, "This will be a wonderful yellow background." And there she went. Things like that.
That's amazing. So it really seems like part of it, or a big component, is to remember what it
Yes.
was like before we were conditioned by our
Yeah.
culture and our teachers and our parents and the judgment and the shame. So you're bringing forth that older, deeper part of our creativity, which is the essence of being human.
Wow, Ryan, that was phenomenally said. That was exquisite. I want that to be included. I loved it that you used the word remember. As I hadn't remembered to use that word, and that's exactly it. I help people remember what has always been there inside of them. And that's why it's so powerful. The process is so powerful for people because they're actually releasing things that have been held down, held and denied inside, sometimes for many years. And releasing them and letting them come out is very, very life affirming for people. They feel deeper in themselves, they feel clearer in themselves, they feel more steady, more
Mm.
able to be in the world as such, as this, as themselves, because of this, that this has been let to come out.
Mm. I love that. And I think I mentioned to you on the phone a month ago or so, Rick Rubin created a cool book recently that's got a lot of attention. And I feel like your work is very similar in that you try to help remind us that our life itself is a creative act. Like
Yes,
the expression and the uniqueness of our own being, every human is so unique to themselves, and that the more we can get out of the way and stop trying to be like everyone else or try to fit like the yellow paper, is this good, is this, it's like choosing what you truly want without the judgment and shame and just expressing yourself. And it seems like you're tapping into people's existential um, depths. It's almost therapeutic in a way.
I love it that you're saying almost therapeutic because that's exactly right. At the same time, it's deeply the original therapy of being. It's deeply therapeutic. You're absolutely right. It's almost therapeutic, but it's also intrinsically deeply self healing. That's what I mean. It's the deep inner therapy. It's self healing self, which is therapy.
Amazing. Unlocking, remembering.
Yeah.
It seems like forgetting and letting go, all these same similar ideas come forth when you think of meditation or breath work or the psychedelic experience. A lot of these things that we're using now as tools to heal are the same concepts of trying to get out of the way, surrender, let go, and see what comes up. And you even said the inhibitions and the fears and all those things, you want to give life to them so that we can bring them to the surface so that we can re-examine and almost see them from a new lens so that
Mm,
they're quite small and quite silly at that point. And you realize,
yeah.
wow, these are all just programs.
Yeah. Exactly. And
It's
there,
amazing.
if from there, once that's not being held down in the system, that inhibition, that taboo, then of course the deeper well springs of the natural creativity just start to come out in all kinds of ways. People are
Hmm.
often
Did
astonished.
you learn Did you learn a lot of these techniques and philosophical approaches to teaching or guiding people into their creativity from other teachers and guides and people that you look up to and books, or a lot of it did it come from was it a mixture of life experiences and your own healing and your own journey?
Oh, I'm going to sit for a moment with that question. It's good. It's it's a strange thing. When I slow down and sit with that question, Ryan, I realize that my real answer to that is that virtually everything of how I guide other people, yes, came from people I learnt from, people I learnt with, education, books, every form of learning. And yet at the same time, honestly, it feels as if all of those things that I learnt met something that was already in me. And it was the two coming together, like my own inner knowing that transmits into me from the beyond and comes through me. It met all the teachers, all the books, all the education, all the 50 years of moving in the world with all of this. So it's like a marriage. between something original that comes through me and what comes through a lot of other people.
Love that. And that seems to me to resonate with the idea of people speak in different ways about this, but our ancestry, our genetic ancestry, or our mimetic ancestry, if you look at archetypes,
Uh huh.
which is our old essence,
Uh
is
huh.
so much older and more intelligent, and it's like our base. And then we come into the world, and obviously we get conditioned, and we get taught by our teachers and elders, and but that collaboration, the epigenetic, if you wanted to talk about it scientifically, which is flipping on and off light switches in
Mm,
our energetic body,
mm,
is so cool to think about, that we have people that, yeah, that use their life work to help other people to remember their old ancestral
mm,
deeper selves,
mm,
while at the same time giving them little nuggets that you've collected and learned from all of your teachers. And it's like we stand on the shoulders of giants. I've loved that quote for years, because we have to learn from others and learn their perspectives and all of their collective learnings and experiences and interacting and processing. And I love to learn from everybody I can, but then my deepest form of learning is always to get still in nature and to get
yes.
out of the way and to remember, and
Yeah.
remembering and actually letting go of what I have learned has been my favorite form of learning. And that takes stillness, and it's like unprogramming is more important than programming. But then when you find a clear base and a clear vessel to work from, and you get back to the root, then you can find and pick the teachers very selectively. And so someone could come to your workshop and go, hey, this woman's been teaching this for decades, and she's done her own work, and she's learned from many beautiful teachers. And then she's put together this really refined, beautiful form of wisdom. And I think it's important to pick our teachers wisely and not
Mm,
just consume, you know, everything. It's like junk food versus really good essential food, to leverage that energy into the body. It's the same idea with what books am I reading? Who am I spending my time with? What am I doing with my time and attention? And so to go to Echo Dharma and to spend 4 nights or whatever it is in nature, unplugged, tapping into the field of the natural elements while having a nice elder there that's teaching you her wisdom, that's probably equivalent to 10 years in a college if you were to be distracted and being bombarded with all these other things. I feel like you can really hone in and learn faster and deeper in shorter periods of time if you select these workshops wisely.
learn and
So,
unlearn.
and unlearn. Yeah.
Yeah. So much of a program like this is about unlearning. So there's room inside to allow the unexpected, the consciously unknown, to flow through and out and then reflect back to us its wisdom that then guides us forward in our next steps in our own evolving, our own choices, our own living, our own contributing into the world. So, yeah, learning, becoming,
And it sounds
unlearning.
like you're what is it that you want people to take away? It sounds like you want them to go and really get and tap into their dharma or their life's work. Is that somewhat of what you're aiming at with people to leave the workshop with, or what
Yeah,
is it that you
yeah,
hope people leave Art Life with?
yes, very much so. What I very much hope for and intend, well, from doing this program is not that people only come and have 4 days and 5 nights out in this glorious retreat place with a undertaking a rich, varied, playful, profound, interesting, varied creativity program. What I want is that this program acts as a stepping stone, a jumping off point, a remembering as the creating of a new template, perhaps a new template, or the recreating of old templates in new ways for how to fulfill how to be true to, how to be true in, how to live truly into all that their life can be as an individual and also as a wise contributing part of this contemporary journey together on the planet at this time. There's more about this, Ryan. Hang on a minute. I've just done a 6-month program with a friend of mine called Carol Korch, who does wilderness work, which is so much about people needing to be in community. She's always working with helping people be in community from her understanding that we need community so much in this time. One of the things that I most intend to build into this Echo Dharma program is meaning and intention and forms, structures by which people can go back out into their contemporary lives and not go out into isolation again, not go out into habits of, I have to do this, and then, etc., but rather go out and help in their lives, in their societies, in their places of business, in their families, be part of building networks of being together and creating together, of being together and creating together. Because I feel that so much of the wound of this time is that we've all been somehow, and of course we could talk about this for several hours, we've all been somehow pushed apart into, I have to achieve, I have to do this, I have to, etc. And the real deep healing comes from working together as humans. And so one of the deepest parts of this program will be my assisting people to explore their creativity as a fundamental guide to unmaking life as a kind of fractured, stressful, separated state of being, and grow into creating their ongoing lives, whatever their circumstances and intentions are, more as collectives, more as we work together, and then we heal the world together
Mm.
in various ways. Oh,
Amazing. And it seems like this Echo Dharma retreat, ArtLife, is tapping into the most needed elements right now in our time, which is a little bit of unplugging from technology, a little bit of nature, a little bit of community, and that in itself, that recipe is healing. It's like that is the medicine right now, and people are craving it so badly.
and
To tap back into and remember and
yes,
connect.
and I would add the ways that I want to help people take that back out with them, for it not to be, well, it was wonderful while it was Echo Dharma, but now somehow I want to give people strong tools for being able to take these other ways of
Beautiful.
being out into their ongoing lives.
Somewhat of an integration of the experience, which is missing from a lot of these deep, profound workshops and seminars and retreats, is that people, yeah, they're high on life and they feel good, and you're
Yep.
getting these downloads, and then you leave and you go back to Monday morning and you're sort of like, oh man, and then what goes up must come down, and it leaves people almost feeling worse because now they touched,
Mm-hmm.
the alchemical gold, and now they're
Yeah.
back to like, oh shit, I
Yep.
gotta answer the phones and
Yep.
do all this stuff. So how do we integrate these
Yep.
experiences? So I like that you said that, because that's more important than the experience
Yeah.
itself.
So the whole of this program will be have this as underpinning, that yes, you're here, we are here, having this extraordinary experience, precious, privileged experience together in this place. But all the way through, I will be helping people to knit something back together inside for going out and living differently.
Times it sparks people's ability to go and create those things in their life because they finally remembered that that was what was missing too. So,
Yeah,
as much as you may not think that people can maintain those components of how they feel when they're at the retreat, they it reawakens them, and it can, yeah, it might feel, you might feel the grief of it when it's over and have to go, but it also can stimulate the emotional response, which activates the change, which is to use your creativity to create those components in your everyday life. Have potlucks, have people get together, build community. We have to create community. We can't just find it. Everybody's seeking. And I do believe that, you can sometimes get lucky and find the right community. But I always have thought, when I get quiet with myself, I'm like, I don't really resonate with most communities. Usually you get in there and it's the same problems with all communities. And you realize, like, maybe I'm supposed to cultivate that within my own life, and create the type of community, if I'm going to create one, that I would want and that I think other people might want, instead of seeking to find it. And I don't know if you resonate with that yourself, but
absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I meant about I want to help people regrow their own true inner tools for co creating other ways of living beyond the program, out in their quotes regular lives. Co creating. We all, it's like us all having the creativity that has often become inhibited or forgotten or treated as less important than saying going to school to learn how to use computers, etc.
and do you see, I mean, I know you know this, and that's why you have such a big heart, and you see that the world has incredible amounts of suffering, and part of the suffering at the root throughout all of human history seems to be the lack of a creative outlet or creativity in your life, and curiosity. I feel like those two, we're natural creators and natural scientists as kids. We're explorers. We want to discover, and then people say, "Oh, stop doing that." They beat the creativity and exploration and curiosity out of us, and that's a cultural norm to
Uh huh.
smother the inner
Uh huh.
child, right? And I
Yep.
can see that that is the most the most alive people that I've met, especially the older ones, are the ones that dance. Like last night, I was in Flagstaff and I saw about 30 people that were over the age of 60 having fun dancing to some blues music. And they were laughing and dancing as if they were kids. And then you look in the corner and you see the younger generation that's under
Yeah.
25, all on their smartphones, absorbed
Yes.
in their phone, not
Yes.
not even dancing or in the presence of the room, unfortunately. And I'm not judging it. It's more like an awareness of we're
Yeah.
being hijacked of our attention and time, and it's more important now than ever to tap back into our curiosity, wonder, and creativity as the ultimate tool, medicine, and thing that might get us out of this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to see that you're doing this type of work because I think we need it. And I know that you're one of the people that's been sharing it, teaching it, and not teaching, but guiding people back into themselves. And I like the approach that you take.
I want to speak for a moment about the difference between guiding and teaching and why I tend to use the word guiding rather than the word teaching. Guiding, as I experience it, as I use that thinking, guiding is supporting people to recall and reignite what is already in them. Whereas teaching is more top down, about giving somebody else something they don't already have. And that's why I really like to use the word guiding. Because I'm not giving anybody something that they don't already have. And I am so deeply aware of that and so deeply humble, actually, humbled and glad that what I do is simply help people reawaken their own original creativity. So I'm like a what do you call it when you it's like getting things back together that belong together, but not giving anybody anything that's not already deep in their own being. You are going to be a very as I knew you would be, but talking with you today, I know even more. You're going to be a very vital, powerful, invaluable presence while you assist me to lead this program. You and Galaxy both. She has a different version of this, but what you bring to this program is going to be so rich.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to come and try to just be present and see where I can add value. That's the way I try to orient myself, is to be present, be of service, and enjoy the ride.
Well, you will, with no doubt. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
I have
where
a
do we go
question that
from
I've
here?
asked a lot of people, and
Yeah.
I think it's an important question that actually draws a lot of depth out of people, and it's something you've
Yes.
probably already pondered, and if you haven't, take your time with it.
Okay.
But if you were going to die this afternoon, today, what would you want to share right now with the world? What would be the most important thing that you could share? What would be of the top of your head that you'd want to say to people?
If I was going to die this afternoon, what I would want to share with you is that in my life, I discovered that the most valuable, potent, extraordinary process is to never, ever give up, to never turn away, to never contract, to never forget that being alive is an indescribably vast opportunity. So I would say I learned, sometimes the hard way, to never give up. And I wish for you that you practice never giving up, always opening into this immensity of unknowing and blessing.
Mm, thank you for sharing that. That's special.
Wow. Life is
Beautiful.
indescribable. Keep exploring. Wow. Can I talk again for a moment, Ryan, without you asking me a question? Because
Sure.
yeah, because I'm feeling some a part rising up here. Let me find it. You asked me in the beginning about this word art life. This art life has been a guide to me. It's been a mentor. It's been a pain in the ass. It just will never leave me alone. And it has been about 25 years that it's been like a vast teaching force, just the word itself. So art life, as it as it lives in me, as it came through into me, as an energy field through this word that me, and that this creativity is naturally, eternally intended to function in all parts of being alive. So it's art of life, art in life, art for life, art as life. So in my programs that I teach, I focus mostly on supporting people to make objects or make a process like a dance or a poem or a song, which so often, particularly in our time, we call art. And we think of that as being rather separate from life. But I, I invite people to make things because those things can act as talismans and as clues and as guides in back and forth into the vaster realms of the whole of their lives. Like they might make something that moves them profoundly, that they had allowed it to come through them. And they may very well keep it with them for the rest of their life. But its purpose is not to be something lovely hanging on the wall, or just a memory of a moment when they felt very free and open and daring, but a map, a clue, a process. No, hold on. A map, an instruction manual. An instruction manual from the divine and from the divine soul within of the deeper, full intentionality of the lifetime that they're in, and the lifetime that they're in within this time and environment and world patterns of this particular contemporary form of life on earth.
Beautiful.
That I really want
Thank
that
you for sharing.
expressed, that I have people make things that they think of as art, but I have them make them because those act as instruction manuals in many, many forms back through every dimension of their lived lives. Wow. Oh, that's the whole point.
Mm, it's very nice to hear that expressed that way.
I've never said it that way before, actually. I've been trying to for a long time. The things that people
Mm.
make in my programs are instruction manuals for the art of their life at its deepest, for fulfilling their soul purpose. SOUL. Oh, got it. Whew.
And when you want to explore that a little further, is it that whatever you create, it came from that process of getting out of the way, letting go, and expressing?
Yes,
So it helps you to then see the manifestation of the thing in the material world that then reminds you to reverse engineer and go back through to get back to that state you were in.
yes,
Is that
yes,
what you're getting at?
yes,
Cool.
yes,
I
exactly.
like that because I've been, as you're saying it, I'm picturing many artists, all different forms, paintings, music, comedy, poetry,
God,
all of it, right? Doesn't matter. Yeah.
yes,
And then I'm thinking, well, that, yeah, that came through this process of the muse or whatever these words are, where you have to show up and you have to get rid of this
the
blockage or the
inhibitions. Yeah,
resistance. There's many languaging for it. But then
yes,
when you do, the thing that comes from it, whether it be writing or the thing itself, isn't the thing to get hung up on. It's more of the thing to get back to the
yes,
state that you were
yes,
in. I
yes,
like that.
yes. That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's why,
Cool.
going back half an hour, I will be focusing, woven through the whole program. It's not just about being here and having a time out. What I'm helping you, what I'm intending and doing my damnedest to help you do here is to transform your life. There's that wanting to cry that is joy. Yeah. Because the real is so alive in all of us all the time, and yet so confounded and so assaulted, passively and not passively, by the environment that we're living in. And by the environment, I mean, the outer contemporary world, which has forgotten so much of love and of togetherness and of freedom and of joy, and created all this insanity where we could have an election between two old guys that, oh, God bless them. No. Uh,
It's crazy.
my
Crazy
work is
times, but
about
it's never.
yeah, my work is about helping people to find their own authentic tools for pushing back against being drowned in the unreal. Just as that's your work,
Mm,
and many people like us. Yeah.
it's amazing. It makes me think of an acronym called STIR, STER, and it
Uh-huh.
refers to a state of the elements that create flow. And when you're in flow, you get selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and information richness. And those elements happen when you're doing some extreme downhill mountain biking, or you're doing poetry or playing music or whatever it is. When you're in flow, it's like where we're most, that's our
alive.
most vibrational aligned self. And we can tap into it on demand if we learn how to
Mhm.
create those spaces. And we all want it because that's when we feel like we're contributing most and we're actually fully alive. So I can see that you're basically a flow guide in your own way.
Yeah, as hundreds and thousands of us are, just as you are.
Hmm.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of us. Wow. Whew. And I was, as you were speaking that, I was realizing that when we're in flow, I was hearing you, obviously, but we're also realizing that when we're in flow, we're also in love. You can't be in flow and not be in a condition of love because there's no, N-O, in flow.
Hmm.
Flow is a condition of yes, of surrender, which is love. There's a
It's
book I think you
beautiful.
might
And
love
just
to
the,
read.
oh,
There's a book I think you'd love to read. It's called Free Play. It's by a guy called Stephen Nanovich. I'll send you a link to it. It's a lovely, lovely book. You'll enjoy it. You can still buy it on Amazon, even though it's quite old. The Treasure.
cool. I would love to check it out. I was thinking when you said love in flow
Yeah.
is a prerequisite, um, or it's like one of the elements or ingredients that would be required. And then I was also thinking just the right amount of fear, which is not something to,
An
you
edge.
know?
There has to be an
Yeah,
edge.
because if
You
there's
got.
no fear, then there's
You
no
got.
excitement and there's nothing to lean into.
Yes, but yes, you're so right. How lovely. Oh, is fear the right word though, or is it edge? There's an edge. There's a it's sort of fear. There's like an edge. You've got to be very mindful while you're going down that steep
Hmm.
slope on that mountain bike. You've got to stay very present, very focused.
Not overwhelmed or anything, but just enough. Like if if you
Because
screw up,
yeah,
you're dead. But if you give in to the fear, it makes you screw up. So there's a surrender element to it, but there's also an awareness that like, hey, there's physics here. I think
uh-huh.
of this firefighting even when I'm in the when,
Uh,
which is rare, but we get some sort of fire every now and then where you're going, oh my, it's a video game. You're doing things and it's happening, but you're almost observing it happening at the same time, and there's no give. It's just interesting. You're just
yeah,
doing it, and it's
yeah,
beautiful to have that because
I think I know. I think I know the state you're speaking of.
yeah. Oh yeah, it's
It,
tapped in by so many different ways.
yeah, but I imagining you as a firefighter. I can imagine the extreme physical danger and urgency that you're actually in and that your body is in, however much good clothing you've got on. And yet at the same time, like you said, it's like also like it being a video game of going through the motions of it with extreme awareness. And yet somehow inside of it all a deep silence, a deep, a deep presence, a deep, it's beyond noise, isn't it? It's, um, simply being in. It's actually I feel what you're saying. In that place there's profound trust that whatever is the outcome is infinitely okay. That makes
Hmm.
sense?
And driving here today, I drove down the hill from Flagstaff, which is a very dangerous freeway.
Yeah,
There's semi trucks, and here we are in this fake illusion of a bubble that we feel safe, but we're going 80 miles an hour, and so are the
yeah.
big semis, and so are
Mhm.
people texting and
Right.
driving. There's so
Yeah,
much possibility,
yeah.
but we have to just trust
Stay.
that the person that
Yeah,
made the vehicle, the freeways are okay.
exactly.
There's so much potential for chaos, but you just
Yeah,
do it. And then you're listening to music and you're almost blissed out and you're in flow while driving. And it's completely dangerous. It's far more
that's
dangerous than firefighting.
yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That's exactly right. Yeah. I go across
Um,
I-80 in Utah. No, not Utah. Fuck, word loss. And it's the same thing with the huge lorries and a lot of wind. It's crazy making to go along that freeway. I know what you mean.
yeah. Thank you for taking your time to answer some questions. And it's fun to get to know you and what you're doing. And I had a nice time chatting with you.
So, in closing, I welcome you if you choose to come and be part of this next exploration of ArtLife as it awakens our profound original creativity as people alive in today's world. I welcome you and I wish you well in all that your own art life is and ever has been and will be. Voila.
Beautiful. Thank you. I look forward to attending, and I'm excited to meet all the beautiful people that end up coming, and we'll see what emerges from that experience.
We will.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good getting to know you, and I appreciate you as a friend, and
Mm.
I'm looking forward to getting to know you more. So, thank you. I love you, and I'm just very appreciative of knowing you.
I love you too, Ryan. I think you're a fabulous human being. And whenever I talk to people about the program, friends or one on one, I say to them, so I have two assistants. One of them legally changed her name to Galaxy Dancer PhD. And the other one is this gorgeous guy called Ryan, who's a firefighter and a breathworker teacher in Phoenix, who is going to bring a very particular kind of powerful, potent, wise, masculine energy into the presence in the program. I say that to everybody because I just know that you being in that circle is going to bring something very, very needed. As in programs like this, there tend to be 90% women, which is good, but long story, blah, blah. But, the presence of the masculine in this kind of learning work is so important. And right now, there's a student of mine called James who'll be there, another guy who has a very different kind of masculine energy to yours. And I'm hoping at least two other guys.
Beautiful. I look forward to the opportunity, and I thank you for the kind words. It really encourages me
It's going to
to
be lovely. Whole thing's going to be
thank
lovely.
you.
Yeah. Every time you open
I'm
your mouth
excited
with
for
a
it.
circle, I'm going to be like, way to go. Good job I invited Ryan.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the episode. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes, and rate the show. I hope you enjoyed the episode.